Hey ho, welcome back to YakAboutAYak. I'm your host Black Sparrow, and today I'm going to show you how to make a trolling motor mount for your kayak. One that fits on the side of your kayak as opposed to the back. Come along for the ride, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Here's the basics of what you're going to need. Get yourself a 2x6, some bolting hardware. I use 3/8 bolting hardware with a couple of nuts on the bottom. Some longer ones so that they go all the way through. And a piece of angled 2x2. Your board, essentially, is going to sit in that slot. Now you can use either a piece of aluminum or steel. Steel is going to be heavier, but make sure that it's 2 inches by 2 inches. And you can drill through this way as well as this way to help support the 2x6 onto your piece of angle. So with your angled channel here, you want to make sure that it's long enough to cover the width of your kayak. And drill holes, I've pre-marked them out there for where I'm going to have them sitting on the kayak. They coincide with my rail tracks on the back of my kayak. So I'm going to use the rail tracks on the right and left to help support the angle rail. So let's drill through a couple of holes. And there we go. Let's drill through a couple of holes on the bottom. There we go. So now we want to cut our 2x6. Make it about, 8 inches or so wide. Make sure that it covers the width of your trolling motor. And we're going to drill a couple of holes through the bottom of it, as well as right through the center of it. Okay? So through the magic of video editing, let's drill our holes. And let's give it a bit of a paint job too. And there we go. This is going to be our board with our holes drilled through the sideways as well as drilled through the bottom. So what you should all know is not only did I paint this with some spray paint, but I also gave it a coat of some polyacrylic Minwax. That way helps protect it from the water. So let's start assembling. So here's how I attach it across the back of my kayak. I used my rail tracks and put a couple of bolts up through the rail tracks with a couple of wing nuts. See here, what I've added onto the side is my transducer mount. So for the transducer mount, I've got a wing nut on the side, which I can loosen. Raise it up when we're in shallow water. Tighten it up there. And then just loosen that to deploy. And tighten it back up. And we're ready to rock. Very simple. Piece of steel there. And a 90-degree bracket. Put the two together, saves you a couple $100 in these transducer mounts that you can get from YakAboutAYak or various other manufacturers. Now, why do I use these big washers, you might ask? Well, what it does is it increases the surface area that the head of that bolt is going to bite down with. So you're not just biting down with about 1 centimeter, you're biting down with about a good 1.5 inches right across the surface of that. And we can use our drill to help get our bolt through. That's one. So line your bolts up with your holes, and then you can jiggle it into position there. Once she's on. So I'll just put this on finger tight at the moment. And then we'll grab the washer for the other side. Okay, now it's by no means tight right now, but you get the idea that if you don't have holes drilled through the center like this to support it horizontally as well, this is going to tend to wobble on you a little bit. So put that through there. And we'll just put this on finger tight for now. We'll get the next one through. And finally, the last one. So now that we've got everything lined up, finger tight, now we can start using our power tools and give everything a nice final tighten down. And since it's tight on the other side, we'll do the final one by hand. Just a couple of cranks. There we go. And those are in position. And there we have it. Nice and firm trolling motor mount. All right, there we have it. Now if you find that there's still a little bit of wobble and you want to try to reduce that, you can try to add one more extra restraint between your final bolt and maybe some triangular location. So if I find this is wobbling on me a little bit, I'm going to add one more restraint from here straight across to there. But for now, I don't think it's needed. I need to test it out in the open water, see how it performs. So let's add our trolling motor. And tighten it down. There we have it. So one thing you want to make sure to do is make sure that you set the height of your trolling motor so that the bottom of it clears the bottom of your kayak. Last thing you want is your trolling motor on and this hitting the bottom of your kayak. So that is the extra support torque arm that I was talking about. I've just decided to put one on, added a piece of steel. Actually, it's 2 pieces of steel. I had to connect them here. And that prevents this whole thing from pivoting. Now it is much more stable. Sure, the Minn Kota itself is still going to jiggle around, but this 90 degrees is very, very stable now. So that's how you can add an additional torque arm to prevent that lateral movement in your Minn Kota support. There we have it. Minn Kota side mounted trolling motor mount. Now, when we get into shallow water, we want to lift the motor up, tilt it, and lock it in position. Just like that. Keep it like that with the motor close to the mount. That way it does not pivot as much on you. Flip the switch, drop her down, turn it around, and you're all set to go. I hope you all enjoyed that. Hope you found that a bit informative. You can experiment with different ways of how many bolts are right for you, what's right for your kayak and your setup. Not one size fits all. You are going to have to modify it a little bit. Sometimes when you're drilling the holes, you might have to slot the holes just a little bit to get things to line up. But in any case, it works. And I'm going to have double the power on the water. All right. Thanks for tuning in. As always, I'm Black Sparrow saying, catch you later.